I'm Alessandra Barrett, Special Projects Editor for JOC. I'm at our 2015 TPM conference in Long Beach, and I'm joined by Matt Tillman, CEO of a new company called Haven. Thanks for speaking with me today, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Haven's a new and exciting entry into the industry. From your perspective, what are the challenges currently facing the industry as a whole?
Well, I think the industry as a whole is going through a lot of challenges with regards to the consistency in their supply chain, the predictability in their supply chain for shippers. We've seen with the recent congestion at the ports, that's been difficult, certainly on the US side and internationally as well. I think the industry is also having some issues with regards to the simplicity of services on offer. We've started to see a movement towards all-in pricing, as an example, from some of the carriers and some of the forwarders. And certainly that's getting more and more popular with the shippers because then they can plan ahead of time for their supply chain needs throughout the year. And I think, driving more into predictability, one of the big things that we were trying to do with the Haven platform and the launch recently here at TPM Long Beach was really deliver that predictability to shippers directly. So to give them more information, more insights into their supply chain and into what the carriers can deliver against.
So you mentioned the launch of your first product. Can you walk me through that? Yeah,
so we were really excited to use TPM as a launch platform for ourselves this year. We've been in market for the past year, actually researching, meeting with shippers, small, medium, and large shippers, really large carriers, smaller carriers, niche player carriers, and really trying to determine what needs they had that weren't being met by the existing solutions in the industry. And so what we've built is a way for a shipper to, in a very self-service fashion, log into a website, search sailings, see rates, understand transit times and differentiated services from carriers, and then be able to book or request a quote. And they can even bid. Should they know a lot about their supply chain, they can actually bid on that existing inventory. So if you understand the price that you're willing to pay and you understand the price that you've been paying in the marketplace for years now, you kind of understand your supply chain really well and you can bid on that existing capacity. Once the bid is accepted by us as just being a valid bid from a shipper, we do a lot to actually make sure that we're not wasting the carrier's time. So we only send them bids that are of quality, of value. And then they have the opportunity to accept or reject those bids from a shipper.
The opportunity to really focus on the differentiating factors, that seems like an interesting one. Do you want to speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think historically the industry has gone towards rates as a point of differentiation. And platforms that have come before us have really focused on rates. And I think what ends up happening is you get a lot of rate compression. And that's certainly a concern that a lot of our carrier partners had and our supply partners had. And so they were concerned, one, about being required to list all capacity, because that certainly provides leverage. And so we really wanted to bring them into more modern marketplace technology. And what this allows them to do is it allows them to set the rates at which they're comfortable delivering a service for that shipper. And it also allows them to specify the types of services that they offer beyond pure ocean freight. And that's really exciting as well. And so we show transit times as an example. We'll show number of ports of call. And that gives, again, the shipper this greater degree of predictability, but it also differentiates the carrier. And that's very exciting for our carrier partners.
Given everything that's been going on recently on the West Coast, the relationships between shippers and carriers can get strained. It's on everyone's mind. This also seems like a great opportunity to help those relationships.
Yeah.
Am I right on that?
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, I think that connecting shippers directly with carriers, especially the small to mid-sized shippers that may not always have direct carrier connectivity, it gives them a window into what's needed for the shipper and what's needed for the carrier as well. And I think the other thing that happens is when you, in a very transparent way, show, as an example, all the sailings and all the different ports of call that you can possibly purchase as a shipper, you start to understand which ports give you the best opportunity in terms of service. Because as a shipper, I want fewer days on the sea, and I want fewer days in the warehouse, and I want to hold less inventory, right? I want to be able to have a more agile, dynamic supply chain. And what we allow them to see is which ports have the greatest availability, which ports have the most service from each carrier, and we also let them see rates across multiple types of ports. We support 1,500 ports currently in the system, and so that can be used as either port pair. And that means that you can understand better if you're going to LA as an example, Long Beach a couple of weeks ago, you would actually be able to see how Houston would have affected your route or how potentially the East Coast would have affected your route.
Well, thanks for taking time and sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having me.
I've been speaking with Matt Tillman, founder of Haven.